everyone to the Traci Harding YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking with Kate Connolly, who is the author of The Intuitive Heart Revolution, which I will show you. Gorgeous book. Now, Kate was someone I met who through my own work, and we got talking about her book. And when she was telling me about it, it was like, well, wow. I mean, that just basically sounds what I've put down in fiction, in non-fiction, like a how-to manual, as it were. And I thought, with everything being as it is at the moment, that was really needed in this world. So I thought we should really get Kate on the channel and have a chat. And that's what we're going to do today. But before we do, let's find out a little bit more about her. Kate Connolly is a Sydney-sider and earned her chiropractic degree at Macquarie University in 2001, followed by a diploma in naturopathy and herbal medicine. Kate started Natural Health Works, her own clinic, in 2011, focused on kinesiology and energy healing. Today she continues to work at her practice, run online meditation classes, write books and develop online courses on intuition, spirituality and self-development. Kate's new book, The Intuitive Heart Revolution: How to Navigate the Modern World Through Your Connection to Your Deeper Knowing, is a clear and insightful roadmap for knowing yourself and gaining control of inner self-talk, your health, your life, and your reality. And that's why I knew I had to get Kate on the channel for a chat. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Traci Harding YouTube channel. We're here to interview Kate Connolly today about her new book, The Intuitive Heart Revolution. And we're just going to dive straight in because I wanted to ask Kate, what compelled you to write this book?
Oh, look, at the time I was starting to move from, I guess, one-on-one work in my clinic and starting to do a little bit of online teaching and starting to write courses. And I run a meditation class, and there's just a few different things that I was putting out there. And I had no idea how to, I guess, market myself or to put myself out there. And also it's quite difficult to explain, I guess, in an elevator pitch, the kind of work that we both do, really.
Yeah.
Right. And so I thought, well, a friend of mine, I was speaking to her on the phone one day and she said, oh, look, Balboa's got a deal happening for, writing your own book. Why don't you try that instead? And I thought, oh, marvelous idea. So I just decided to dive into it, and it took me about 4 years, but
that's a while.
I had a couple of kids in between, and we moved multiple times, and it was just one of those. Well, our house got destroyed. We need to leave it. We were overseas a couple of times. It was just a really busy time, and I think I don't know, it just came in and out of doing it over a really long period of time. And then, when the end was in sight, it was really exciting. I just kind of, bulldozed my way to the end. But
a lot of people ask, how did you, get into this way of thinking? Where can I go and read about this? Now, with me, that was Blavatsky, and that is not something that you hand to a beginner. I mean, Celestine prophecy is one sometimes that I'll go, well, if you're just starting out on this journey, go and have a look at that. And then, of course, I came across Inna Segal, whose work is really great on the healing side of things, and on the mental side of things, because it's all connected. But, really, it's kind of like, it's very difficult. So when I started reading your book, I just went, this is just perfect. This is layman's language. It's really easy to understand. And it sort of so closely resembles all the principles and stuff that are in my own books that I just thought, okay, I've got to get you on the channel so that people can just go, okay, so I just need that, rather than have to read my whole 13-part series every time they need a prep up. It would be great for them to have like a manual, which your book is perfect for. And without giving away too many spoilers, I wanted to talk about those initial wake-up calls that sort of get us all looking a little bit deeper into, why am I here, asking the big questions. And the way that you put it, like those initial wake up calls, you put it, you had the feather, the baseball, and the Mack truck. Now, I've definitely been through all those things, but just explain that a little bit to our viewers and they'll get it.
So I feel like for most people, we don't change out of comfort, right? If everything's cruising along, if our life is amazing, the chances of us wanting to do anything different is kind of slim to none. Yes. And, I do think that as we go through this process more and more, we're more likely to use much smaller cues to create change. But certainly at the beginning, there is this kind of, I guess what you could call a Mack trucking. I love calling it a Mack trucking because literally your life changes, and it could be anything. It could be, for us, we had a Mack trucking about 4 or 5 years ago where, and the universe had been whispering to me for a while, I'd say at least 6 to 9 months, this house isn't right for you. You need to leave this house. And I loved the house that we were living in and I didn't want to move. I was just so attached to it. It was beautiful. And then there was a storm that hit. It got the roof cracked. We had mold everywhere, and basically all of our stuff got destroyed, and we needed to leave. Yeah. And I'd been given these really small hints, this is not the right place for you. We were having a bit of trouble with, the owner getting stuff done. And, we were having a few bits and pieces that made me aware that it was probably not the right house, but I just kind of dug my heels in because I really didn't want to leave it. But this Mack trucking was pretty big for us because we literally lost all of our possessions, and that included, hand-me-downs from aunts that were no longer alive, and there were so many things there, and really we were without a home for 6 to 7 months while it was all getting sorted, and it was just when we looked back, I think the message that was given to me was, oh, you just needed a clean slate. It's like, oh, that's awesome, thank you so much for that clean slate.
Illness is another one, especially that whacks you right on your back. It's like, okay, if you're not paying attention, we're going to lay you out flat on your back. And so you've got nothing else you can possibly do besides listen to us, And
that pretty much happened to me as well. So we had within a year, I remember at about the time that we lost our house. We also had about $15,000 worth of speeding fines, which hadn't found our way to us in like a year. And there was all of these things that happened. And at the end of that particular thing, I did end up in hospital from stress. Yeah. It was this massive, I can't even remember what it was, appendicitis-y thing. And I was flat out in hospital for a week. And, it was just this constant reminder of, hang on, stop, pay attention and do something different because this ain't working. Yeah. So I think
that's the thing with life. Really, it's like when everything is going with you, you're absolutely totally in flow, and when you're in flow and you're going, excellent, this is all working. But, it's much harder when it's sort of going, no, look, get out now. Mm-hmm. And you can find yourself fighting yourself, like you get this anxiety about it, and
absolutely.
But nerves and excitement are very, very difficult to tell apart too.
Yes, that's right.
Sometimes you can be really excited about an idea, but you think you're nervous. So it's kind of like, it's a very thin line, but either way, it's telling you to move your ass, basically.
Oh, 100%. It always comes back to how you feel, right? If something doesn't feel right, it's not right. It just really is as simple as that.
Are you a gut person? Yeah. I think in you. Yeah. I'm a gut person too, because it's like your head and your heart. Yes, they can work if they're both working on the same page. That's great. Seldom does that happen. So, for me, it's always been about my gut. Like if I get butterflies in my gut about something, it's kind of like, no, I don't think that's right. But otherwise, you just feel this complete ease, and you just know that you're making the right step, even if it's scary,
Absolutely.
So something else that you discussed in the book was ancestral hurts. And I'm only going into things that kind of feature in the beginning of the book, because just go read the book because it's fantastic. But this ancestral hurts, I'll do a bit of an example of that. I was having some problems with, hitting glass ceilings with concepts around money. And I had a friend come and do like work with pendulum with me, asking all sorts of questions. And we kept asking questions that kept going, no, that's not it. No, that's not it. And finally she just went, oh, hell, like maybe, maybe this is ancestral. Let's see how far this goes back. Ended up going back 400 years. Now, my ancestors were in Ireland, and they were go back to the O'Brien clan, which was the last clan to give up their castle. They didn't actually fight for it. They gave it up to the English. So they probably were fairly cursed because of that. And so, looking back down that family line, I realized that, my great grandmother, who was a duchess or something, lost all her money by a bank. Okay.
Wow.
Because every time she signed a check, they would add a naught. And apparently they used it, the banker used it to bring out a baseball team to Australia or something.
Oh my goodness.
And then, like my mom, I mean, she was very prosperous while she was with my dad. But then when she got out on her own, she just kept having this one misfortune after the other. And I'm thinking, hold on, I can see that coming all the way back through my line, straight to me. And it was like, right, well, let's end this now then, So we did a whole process. And ever since then, my God, it's been a completely different story for me. So anyway, ancestral hurts. Let's have a bit of background on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, everything that we're coming up, and you kind of explained it beautifully, everything that we come up in this lifetime that has a block for us, whatever it might be, whether it is money or jobs or love or health or whatever it is, there's always going to be a belief system that is impacting that progress. Right. Yeah. So our belief systems can create stories and then behaviors that become sabotaging. Right. Yeah. And often we don't actually 100% know where they're coming from. So, for example, someone had a phobia of bridges. One of these women that came in to see me, she couldn't drive over bridges, absolute terrified. And we kind of spoke a bit about it, and we checked in, and same thing. Nothing in this lifetime was really showing up. And so we kind of go back and check for other things. So it's something that I do as a matter of course now, but it can be ancestral patterning. So without us necessarily realizing, and I guess we see it every day anyway, when we take on the mannerisms of, parents, grandparents, even people we haven't met before, we can take on those mannerisms and beliefs and behaviors that we don't necessarily want to, or that are just a part of where we've come from. Well, I think you just kind of pick this stuff up without realizing, and then we can have these belief systems that get handed down as well. So if you've got things that aren't working for you, which all of us do, and we can't pinpoint when it is, then we often can go back into that ancestral patterning, or even past life patterning, or even multidimensional patterning, where there's an element of us that is believing a particular way of being, but that it doesn't suit us here and now, and it doesn't suit our life here and now, and it doesn't actually help us move forward. So, we might be constantly sabotaging ourselves in a certain way. Yeah. And it can often come from those old belief patterns that come in and pretend like they're real in here and now, and they're just not.
And of course, all about that is in the book. And I expect that you do a lot of that stuff in practice as well.
Yeah, all the time.
So the other thing I really, really loved was how you outlined at the beginning of the book, right from the offset, that anyone who felt that they were at the mercy of fate, or that they were not ready and willing and able to take responsibility for their own life, that this book probably wasn't for them. Actually, I read a quote the other day: the moment you accept responsibility for everything in your life is the moment that you gain power to change anything in your life. Now, that belief was a real trigger for me. That just, once I'd figured that out, it was just like, oh my God, this is it. I can do anything. So that sort of led to my entire belief system, me becoming a writer, the whole creating your own reality thing, way back in, when did I write the first book? 1996. Okay. Nobody was thinking that way then, it was like, but I knew it worked. Like I knew it worked, and I could make it work. So how important has that been for your journey, your practice, and your clients? Like,
it's been everything.
Is it hard to get them to have that breakthrough, or do they kind of,
It's interesting. Most people who have come to me over the years, and it's kind of changed as I've changed, but probably in the last, I'd say 5 to 7 years, the people that come in to see me are only the ones that are actually starting to wake up and starting to recognize, oh crap, I want to do things differently.
Yeah.
And the first step is always taking responsibility, because it doesn't matter how traumatic or how bad our life has been. I've had plenty of traumas, I'm sure you have. And it's nobody's fault. You know, it's not a case of, oh my goodness, you've caused this and this is wrong with you or anything like that. It's kind of the complete opposite. It's kind of like, how about we stand up, take some responsibility for where we're at? As in, yes, this is my life. My beliefs, my thoughts, my behaviors have created this life. And now I have the mandate to change it. And if I choose to make the most of this opportunity, then we can heal. So, you know, every time we hit a choice point, which is you can grow or you can suppress it, you can grow or you can suppress it, you know, there's going to be multiple of those in our lifetimes. And if the, you know, the sounds, if the messages get loud enough for us and we just go, oh my goodness, the way that I'm doing this isn't working.
Yeah.
You can either take the, I can do anything I want to change that, or I'm stuck with that. And if you feel like you're stuck with it, well, it will literally never change, because you kind of become the victim of your own prophecy, really. Exactly. Or you can say, do you know what? I choose to actually learn from this and do something different. And that is always our sovereign choice. And we can kind of step into whatever that looks like. So usually that means a level of healing of some kind about what brought us to that place, and then becomes this kind of, okay, so what can I do? And let's go somewhere forward, which is exciting. The only thing I haven't figured out, I'm really curious to see what you think about this as well. There is still that sense of our highest purpose as well, and what the universe has got us here for, and what our higher self is guiding us to do. And so my biggest question that I still haven't 100% sorted out yet, and I debate this with many people, is how much is us and how much is them? So clearly, if we're going off our path in some particular way, then the universe will clue us in, right? With the feather, the baseball, or the Mack truck. And we have the sovereign right and you know, ability to make our own choices and to create our own reality. And I'm always really curious as to how much of that is, you know, what we've been destined to do in terms of our soul purpose, and how much of it is our own personal responsibility.
Well, see, I think that's where you've got karma coming into play a little bit.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's lessons you didn't learn in the last life, and they're popping up again for you and screwing up what you want to do, so that you will figure out how to get over them. Because, I mean, if they pop up and they're not really affecting you, you're not really going to deal with it, are you? And I've always sort of said, I mean, yes, we create our own reality, but really we co-create it. And the universe is our partner, you know?
Exactly.
So that's, you know, it's going to have its say too, because it's got the, you know, the greater good there. And other people's will. I mean, there's also that, like coming up against, you know, a force that is as strong as yourself. But I think it's learning how to compromise as well, because quite often maybe what you want to do is not exactly right. And if you find the way to compromise with whatever it is that's blocking you, then you're back in flow again, you know. And I find that that's a good principle to run on. It's like, okay, it's like when you have one of those Mack truck moments, it's like, okay, well, why did I bring this on? What brought this on? Or if you have an accident, like, what was I thinking at the moment that happened? You know, because
absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Actually, it's kind of the us and them, the us and them kind of debate in my mind has pretty much always come back to, ultimately, if we're not sure, our intuition will tell us, right? And our intuition is actually connected to that kind of higher purpose, that connection into the universal intelligence. And ultimately, that's our way forward. So if we're not sure, if we can gain the skills to actually really connect in, and we can listen to it and use that as our guidance system, well, then we can't really go wrong, because it's going to be along the path that we're supposed to be traveling anyway. I'm always curious. I always wanted to put a percentage on it. Okay, it's 50% us, 50% the universe. No, it's 70% us, it's 30% the universe. I still don't know what that percentage is, but
I just say it's karmic. Like what that percentage is will be like how much we have to learn, how big or less it is whatever, you know.
Mm.
So I just want to shift the conversation away from the book for a little minute and get into some more general writer questions, because I've got a lot of writers, you know, watch this channel, and a lot of them are actually like people that are working in spiritual fields or healing fields that are looking to write a book.
Yeah.
So did you always want to write a book, or you just felt you had to write this particular book?
Neither, actually. I never thought I would write a book. I thought it would be a tiny bit cliched for people like myself.
Right.
And at the same time, I didn't think that I really had that much to write about, which is hilarious, because I feel like now that I've started the process, I literally will never end that process.
Tell me about it. I thought The Ancient Future was a short story.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like 13 books, 14, going on 14. So.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, look, it's quite incredible. And even now, even just to make that book, I probably took out ridiculous amounts of content just to try and make it, you know, flow and what have you. But
it flows really well, by the way. It's really,
thank you.
You're not sort of going, oh yeah, okay, let's get on with it. It's kind of like just all naturally flows one thing into another without you sort of getting caught up in it. So yeah, well done you.
Oh, awesome. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I think for me it was something I kind of fell into, which is probably like most of my professional life. I've kind of followed the rabbit hole wherever it's taken me, and if it's felt right at the time, then I've dived into it. And the book was no different. So for me, I think one of the reasons it took me so long as well to write it is because I kept having these what I like to call apostrophes as I was going along, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so that's a way I can do that. That's amazing. I need to write that down. Yeah. Oh, wow, I just learned this. This is amazing. Oh, I need to write that down. So it became a really beautiful, I guess, life experiment as well. And
it's a real
ultimately
experience.
Yeah, that's right. And I think ultimately, if you're looking to write a book, you'll find a way to bring it through you, and it'll just come out. It is actually a really beautiful experience. So, you know, if you're in doubt, definitely just dive in and see what happens.
So a little bit earlier, you were talking about a little bit of like being published, like where you what inspired you to get published, where you went. So can you tell us a little bit about your route to being published? Because I love this, because everybody takes different routes. Like, you know, I've had, you know, people that have been published by the big houses, or other people that have chosen to go the self-publishing route because basically they make more money that way these days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I'm like seriously, because it's not like, I mean, when I started, it was very, very different industry to now. I think ebooks kind of killed things quite a little bit. But it's just really interesting to find out other people's avenues. So how did you go with the whole publishing story?
So I decided to self-publish. It didn't even occur to me, honestly. I do tend to make fairly interesting decisions without researching at all. I don't tend to research my options.
That's just following your gut. That's great.
I know. I just thought, oh no, this feels good. I'm going to do it. Yeah. So like, I think I said before, one of my colleagues suggested I do it with Balboa, and I just gave them a call and had a chat, and they seemed really receptive, and it seemed like a great idea at the time. So I'm like, okay, bugger it, let's do it. Yeah. It's literally only in the last couple of months that my editor, who's a friend of mine, was chatting to me about all the other possible self-publishing places out there and what might be around, that I thought, oh my goodness, didn't even occur to me to look. I'm sure there's plenty out there. And I didn't even try to go to kind of regular publishers, really, because it didn't even occur to me that would be a great way to do it. I just kind of went down the Balboa Press road, and yeah.
So, for other people that are aspiring to write a book, what advice do you have?
Just go for it, really. I think we all have beautiful stories to tell. Everybody has an amazing story to tell. Everyone has their unique excellence to bring to the world. And if doing it through a book is what, you know, sparks you, I think you should absolutely just dive into it. I think I've got 4 or 5 friends that have written books on various different things. And I think it's really just stay focused on getting it done, because my focus definitely came in and out. And I think, you know, I've had think I've got 2 friends that have written books that haven't published them and haven't done anything with them. And I kind of feel like, well, the world's missing out a little bit. You know, we all have the opportunity and the possibilities to try and at least get it out there and see whether it has, you know, a response rate of some kind. And, you know, just keep going and make sure that you know, be true to yourself and finish it, get it done.
So you mentioned Amazon with Balboa. So does your book go worldwide with them, or are they doing Australia and New Zealand? If they're dealing with Amazon, I would guess that it's worldwide, which is great because, you know, I got people all over that kind of watch this channel. So just for their information.
Yeah.
So for anyone else who's really sort of maybe struggling with their health or their life or just where the spiritual journey is at, do you, well, besides go and read the book, do you have any other advice for them that might help?
I think one of the biggest things I find myself telling all of my clients is to be really kind to yourself. I think one of the really scary things that happens when we start that process, and the process really is, like we've said, starting to wake up and take responsibility for the life that you've created up until now.
Yeah.
But the dangerous part, I suppose, of that is that then we can go into this kind of self-bash cycle. Oh my goodness, how could I have done that? How could I have created this? You know, if we're not blaming other people, we're going to blame ourselves. How have I managed to get here? I feel like I've worked on this. It's not getting better, blah, blah, blah. And ultimately, the worse we are to ourselves and the harder we are on ourselves, the harder it is to fix. Yeah. So, you know, the book kind of talks about that we've got 3 main universal laws for healing. The first one is the universal law of oneness or acceptance. So as soon as we go into deep judgment of ourselves, we actually start to lose ourselves and we actually start to kind of dive into the pain even more, which is not helpful. It doesn't actually get us anywhere.
So and forgiving yourself is number 1 and forgiving others.
Well, forgiveness is number 2. The first one is acceptance. So even just accepting 100% how you are, exactly as you are, and that there's nothing wrong with us in that moment and we haven't done anything wrong. You know, if we could consciously choose our life, if we could consciously choose it, would we have chosen them? Probably not, right? So if we can just, you know, give ourselves a break, be really kind to ourselves in that moment. It's not our fault that we've gotten to that place. But now that we're awake and we realize that we've created it, then we have a choice.
Yeah.
And if we can fully accept.
There's no going back. There's no going back. No. You realize, okay, I'm creating this.
Exactly.
There's no going back to, oh no, it was my mother's fault. It's God's fault. It's the government's fault. You just can't go back there. You know?
Well, it's a waste of energy and a waste of time. So the blame game is kind of taking us out of that universal law of oneness or acceptance, where actually ultimately we are all one and we all are showing up. And if we're doing something that isn't quite serving us, well, then we just need to own it and accept it without self-bashing. So if we can do that and get out of that kind of bash cycle, then we can move on to forgiving ourselves, and then we can move on to loving ourselves, and then we can heal it. So it really is a beautiful process of, rather than taking it on as this kind of massive burden that we can't get rid of, it's just, okay, let's just see it for what it is. Let's take a step back. Let's detach from it. Yes, it happened. Yes, I own it. Yes, I accept myself because of it. And now what am I going to do about it? Yeah. Rather than kind of circling the drain hole that most of us spend a lot of time, you know, wasting our lives doing that at times, when actually we can go, okay, well, this has happened. I fully own it, but now what am I going to do? How am I going to love myself out of this? You know, what are my choices from here? Now that I know, what am I going to do differently? So it's kind of just be really kind to yourself as you go through it.
And that not blaming others too. It's like, if you've had a bad relationship with someone, you know, there's no point blaming the other person, you know?
Yeah.
You were equally contributing to whatever was going on. And I think you have to forgive yourself, and you have to forgive them. Even if they don't forgive them, you have to do it, you know? Because
absolutely.
Otherwise you're just hurting yourself more.
Well, you just stay in it, right? Yeah. You stay attached to the problem. You stay attached to the person,
and you'll be bumping into each other and having arguments, and you know, because it's not finished, because you didn't finish it, you know.
Exactly.
So to wind up the video, because we're kind of running out of time, I always ask everyone, What do you think the meaning of life is? Now, for me, I'm a creative being, just waking up to co-create with the universe every day. That's my jam. That's my thing. But, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I love that. I think ultimately for humans in general, it's to heal, is to kind of, heal the parts of us that are staying in separation or staying in duality and come into a sense of wholeness and oneness. So I feel like that's our primary goal. And then ultimately to ascend when we've done enough of that.
We can let go.
Yeah, that's right. So, when we can actually finally come into that sense of being whole and healed is a really beautiful part of it. And, for I guess souls universe wide, that's the ultimate goal. And then, within that framework, we have our individual things that we're here to do. So yours is creativity, mine's creativity, someone else is learning how to love, or someone else is learning how to, honor themselves, or whatever their own kind of particular goals are. But I feel like all of that is part of becoming whole and creating that sense of feeling healed and feeling just part of the universe, that oneness.
I think I had a friend once who was challenging me. He was a Buddhist, and he was saying, what's keeping you here? And it's like, well, it's what can't you live without? And it's like, well, my imagination. He's going, that's what's keeping you here. So it's like getting beyond actually needing anything to let go. So, I mean, forgiveness is absolutely brilliant. Compassion is fantastic. Gratitude is awesome. It's my favorite thing ever. That's how to get things going right, just being grateful for everything. And then detachment, learning how to detach and let things flow in and out of your life, everything,
Absolutely.
If you can do that, it's like life is really much more of a breeze.
Well, the only time you ever get sick or hurt or injured or you get Mack trucked is when you're holding resistance somewhere. So the resistance is energetic, it's belief system, it's in your body. You're going to get a sore shoulder because there's resistance to something. You're going to get irritable bowel because you have a resistance to something. So the removal of resistance and allowing the flow of life is really the key. Energy moving is what it's going to keep us healthy and vital and consistently kind of moving forward, really.
Absolutely. Well, that's all we've got time for today. I wanted to say thank you so much for coming and talking to us. I'm going to have links to all your social media after this video and below the video on YouTube, and links to where to buy the book. But thank you so much for talking to us. And
I'm so grateful.
We may even get together again. I should really get a healers circle happening, because I know quite a few people that have published and that are deeply into it right now. It'd be great to get
that sounds amazing. Yeah. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for having me on your channel. And it's so lovely to meet you in person.
Lovely to meet you too. Thank you. And bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. And thanks for coming. And don't forget, Intuitive Heart Revolution. Go find a copy. Actually, link will be below.